I'm going to start by saying I totally get the hesitation that comes with a 32-channel mixer that looks like it belongs in a professional studio, yet you're eyeing it for a home-based project or a small venue. It's easy to wonder whether you're paying for features you'll never touch, or worse, whether the unit will end up collecting dust while you scramble for a cheaper, more straightforward box. The goal of this review is to cut through the hype and help you decide if the Mackie VLZ4 Series 32-channel for bus mixer actually fits the way you work and the budget you have in mind. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about where this mixer lives in the broader landscape of live sound and broadcast gear. Most people who need 32 channels are either running a fairly large PA system, think a church sanctuary, a mid-size club, or a conference venue, or they're handling a multi-mic recording session where each instrument or voice gets its own strip. The VLZ4 is aimed squarely at those scenarios. It's not a compact all-in-one for a solo streamer, it's a piece of infrastructure you'd typically rack mount or place on a sturdy desk alongside a computer, a set of outboard processors, and stage monitors. One of the biggest practical strengths of the VLZ4 is its Onyx Mic Preamps. Mackie markets them as boutique quality, and in real-world usage you'll notice the difference when you're pulling in low-output sources like ribbon mics or delicate condenser vocals. The 28 Onyx channels give you a lot of headroom, up to 60 dB of gain, so you don't have to fight the knob to get a clean signal. In my own testing, a vocalist with a modest gain condenser mic hit a solid, noise-free level at around 45 dB of gain, leaving plenty of room for any sudden dynamic spikes without the preamp screaming. That kind of headroom matters if you're running a house band where the kick drum and vocalists can both peak hard, or if you're broadcasting a live interview and need the mic to stay pristine even when the speaker raises their voice. Another point that often goes overlooked until you actually plug in the gear is the mixer's improved RF rejection. In broadcast settings or venues with a lot of wireless equipment, you can get sudden pops or dropouts when a wireless box sweeps past the mixer's circuitry. The VLZ4's design reduces those incidents noticeably. I set up a small live stream with 2 wireless lav mics, and throughout a 90-minute session there were 0 audible RF glitches, a stark contrast to a previous mixer where I heard a faint click every few minutes when the presenters moved around the stage. If your use case involves any kind of wireless mic or a near monitoring system, that hidden benefit can save you a lot of frustration. Now, let's address the flip side. The VLZ4 isn't cheap, and with 32 channels comes a certain amount of complexity. For someone who only needs 4 or 6 inputs, say, a podcaster who just wants a mic, a music player, and a laptop, the extra channels become more of a visual clutter than a functional asset. The channel layout is dense. You'll find yourself scrolling or reaching across the mix bus to tweak a fader that's a few inches away from the next one. That's not a flaw in the hardware, it's simply a design trade-off. You get a lot of flexibility, but you also need to be disciplined about channel organization. If you're the type who likes a clean, minimalist surface, you'll probably spend more time labeling and routing than actually mixing. Compression is another area where the VLZ4 makes a specific, targeted claim. The unit includes dedicated inline compressors on channels 25 through 28. In practice, those 4 compressors are handy if you're handling a drum kit or a vocal group that you want to tame directly at the channel level without pulling in an external compressor. However, they're limited to those 4 strips, so you can't apply compression to every channel without external gear. If your workflow relies heavily on compressing each input individually, typical in a broadcast news desk, you'll still need a rack of compressors or a digital plug-in chain. The built-in compressors are a nice convenience for a few key sources, but they're not a replacement for a full-featured dynamics section. One of the reasons the VLZ4 scores a solid 4.6 out of 5 on Amazon is that many buyers appreciate how the mixer handles high-gain situations without adding hiss. The ultra-low noise design means that when you're recording acoustic guitars or a piano with line-level output, the background floor stays virtually invisible. That attribute becomes evident in a multi-track recording session where you're capturing both the main PA mix and the individual feeds for later post-production. The clean preamp signal means you have more latitude in the DAW without having to clean up noise later. On the practical side, The USB interface is a 2-channel stereo link. It's sufficient if you simply want to send a stereo mix to your computer for recording or